My topic is legal and ethical considerations in influencer marketing in detail explained, and let's go to the topic and let's go to the start. Legal and ethical considerations play a crucial role in influencer marketing. As influencer marketing continues to grow in popularity, it's essential for both influencers and brands to understand and adhere to these considerations. Here are some key points to keep in mind. Disclosure and transparency. Influencers must clearly disclose any material connection they have with a brand or product they are promoting. This includes any financial compensation, free products, or other benefits received. Disclosure should be prominent and easily noticeable to ensure transparency for the audience. Truthfulness and accuracy. Influencers should ensure that their content is truthful and accurate. They should not make false claims or mislead their audience about the benefits, features, or effects of a product or service. It's important to base statements on genuine experiences and avoid exaggerations. Endorsement guidelines. Influencers should familiarize themselves with the advertising and endorsement guidelines of their respective countries or regions. For example, in the United States, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, provides guidelines on endorsements and testimonials, requiring influencers to disclose their relationships with brands. Intellectual property rights. Influencers should respect intellectual property rights, including copyrights, trademarks, and patents. They should obtain proper permissions or licenses before using any copyrighted material, such as images, music, or videos in their content. Privacy and data protection. Influencers must handle personal data responsibly and in compliance with applicable privacy laws. They should obtain proper consent from individuals when collecting personal information and ensure the secure storage and handling of data. Authenticity and genuine recommendations. Influencers should prioritize authenticity and provide genuine recommendations to their audience. They should only promote products or services that they genuinely believe in and have experience with. Misleading or deceptive practices can harm both the influencer's reputation and the trust of their audience. Targeting minors. Influencers should exercise caution when marketing to minors. It's important to comply with specific regulations and guidelines related to advertising and protecting the privacy of children. Respectful and inclusive content. Influencers should create content that is respectful, inclusive, and does not promote hate speech, discrimination, or offensive behavior. They should avoid endorsing or engaging with controversial or sensitive topics that could harm their audience or the brand's reputation. Contractual obligations. Influencers should carefully review and understand any contracts or agreements they enter into with brands or agencies. They should ensure that the terms are fair, and both parties' obligations are clearly defined. Professionalism and integrity. Influencers should conduct themselves professionally and maintain integrity in their interactions with brands, followers, and other influencers. They should be transparent about collaborations, disclose conflicts of interest, and avoid engaging in unethical practices, such as buying fake followers or engagement. Disclosure and transparency. Influencers must clearly disclose any material connection they have with the brand or product they are promoting. This includes sponsored content, partnerships, or receiving free products or compensation. Disclosure should be prominent, easily understandable, and placed where viewers or readers can notice it. Compliance with advertising regulations. Influencer marketing is subject to advertising regulations and laws, including those related to false or misleading advertising, unfair competition, and consumer protection. Influencers and brands must ensure that their content complies with these regulations, which may vary by country or region. Endorsement and testimonial guidelines. Many jurisdictions have specific guidelines for endorsements and testimonials, which may require influencers to disclose the typical results, represent actual user experiences, and use products before endorsing them. Familiarize yourself with the guidelines in your jurisdiction to ensure compliance. Intellectual property rights. Influencers must respect intellectual property rights, including trademarks, copyrights, and patents. They should avoid infringing on others' rights when creating content or using brand names, logos, or copyrighted material. Data privacy and protection. Influencers and brands must handle user data with care and comply with data privacy laws, such as the General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR) in the European Union. Collecting, storing, or using personal information should be done with explicit consent and in a manner that protects individuals' privacy. Authenticity and transparency. Influencers should prioritize authenticity in their content. They should only endorse products or services they genuinely believe in and have personally tested. Misleading or deceptive practices, such as fake testimonials or misleading claims, should be avoided. Targeting minors. Influencers must be cautious when targeting minors, especially when promoting products or services that may not be suitable for their age group. Compliance with applicable laws, such as the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA, in the United States, is crucial. Social responsibility. Influencers have a responsibility to promote positive messages and avoid content that could harm individuals or society. They should refrain from promoting harmful or illegal activities, engaging in hate speech, or spreading misinformation. Contractual agreements. Clear contractual agreements between influencers and brands are essential to establish expectations, deliverables, compensation, and disclosure requirements. Contracts should outline the legal and ethical obligations of both parties. Monitoring and compliance. Brands should monitor influencer content to ensure ongoing compliance with legal and ethical guidelines. Regular audits and reviews can help identify any potential issues and ensure corrective measures are taken promptly. Disclosure. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, requires influencers to disclose any sponsored content. This means influencers must clearly state when they are being paid to promote a product or service. False advertising. Influencers must ensure that any claims made about a product or service are true and not misleading. If an influencer makes false claims, they could face legal action. Intellectual property. Brands and influencers must ensure that they have the right to use any copyrighted material or intellectual property in their content, including music, images, and logos. Ethical considerations. Authenticity. Influencers should only promote products they genuinely use and believe in. It's important to maintain authenticity and not promote something that goes against their personal beliefs. Transparency. Influencers should be transparent with their audience and let them know that they are being paid to promote a product. Being open and honest builds trust with their audience. Social responsibility. Influencers have a responsibility to promote products that are safe for their audience, follow ethical practices, and align with their audience's values. Disclosure and transparency. Influencers must disclose their relationships with brands and clearly indicate when their content is sponsored, paid, or contains affiliate links. Transparency builds trust with the audience and helps them make informed decisions. Disclosure can be done using clear and conspicuous language, such as hashtags like #ad, #sponsored, or #partner. Compliance with advertising laws. Influencers and brands must comply with advertising laws and regulations in their respective jurisdictions. These laws may include guidelines from regulatory bodies, such as the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, in the United States, which require influencers to disclose their relationships with brands and make any claims or endorsements truthful and substantiated. Truthful and accurate representations. Influencers must ensure that their statements, claims, and endorsements about products or services are accurate and truthful. They should have genuine experience and belief in the products they promote and avoid making false or misleading statements that could deceive the audience. Endorsement and testimonial guidelines. Influencers should be aware of any specific endorsement and testimonial guidelines applicable in their jurisdiction. These guidelines may include rules on how endorsements should be presented, what claims can be made, and how testimonials should be obtained and used. Intellectual property rights. Influencers should respect intellectual property rights, including copyrights, trademarks, and patents. They should obtain proper permissions or licenses when using copyrighted content, such as music, images, or videos in their posts, and avoid infringing on others' intellectual property. Data privacy and consent. Influencers must handle personal data in accordance with applicable data protection laws, such as the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, in the European Union. They should obtain appropriate consent from individuals whose data they collect and ensure the secure handling of personal information. Responsibility for product claims. Influencers should be cautious when making claims about the benefits or effects of products or services. They should have a reasonable basis for their claims and avoid making false or unsubstantiated statements that could mislead consumers. Targeting minors. Influencers must exercise caution when targeting or engaging with minors. They should comply with relevant laws regarding advertising to children and obtain appropriate parental consent when necessary. Authenticity and trustworthiness. Influencers should prove trustworthiness in their content. They should be transparent about their relationships with brands, promote products or services they genuinely believe in, and avoid misleading or deceptive practices that can undermine their credibility. Monitoring and accountability. Brands and influencers should monitor influencer marketing campaigns to ensure compliance with legal and ethical standards. They should also establish clear guidelines and procedures for handling potential breaches and take appropriate corrective actions when necessary. Influencer marketing has gained significant popularity in recent years, with brands collaborating with social media influencers to promote their products or services. However, there are several legal and ethical considerations that both influencers and brands should keep in mind when engaging in influencer marketing. Influencer marketing has gained significant popularity in recent years, with brands collaborating with social media influencers to promote their products or services. However, there are several legal and ethical considerations that both influencers and brands should keep in mind when engaging in influencer marketing. Here are some key points to consider. Disclosure and transparency. Influencers have a responsibility to disclose their relationships with brands and clearly indicate when they are promoting sponsored content. It is important to comply with the applicable laws and guidelines, such as the Federal Trade Commission (FTC) guidelines in the United States, which require influencers to clearly disclose their relationships with brands, either through hashtags like #ad or #sponsored, or other clear and conspicuous disclosures. Truthfulness and authenticity. Influencers should ensure that the content they create is honest, accurate, and authentic. They should not make false claims about products or services, and they should only endorse products that they genuinely believe in or have used personally. Intellectual property rights. Influencers should respect intellectual property rights when creating content. They should not use copyrighted material without permission or infringe upon trademarks or other protected rights. Privacy and data protection. Influencers and brands should handle personal data in accordance with applicable privacy laws. They should obtain necessary consents from individuals whose data is being collected, stored, or processed and clearly communicate how the data will be used. Targeting vulnerable audiences. Influencers should exercise caution when promoting products or services to vulnerable audiences, such as children or individuals with limited decision-making abilities. They should avoid deceptive tactics and ensure that their content is appropriate for the intended audience. Competitor comparisons and claims. Influencers should be mindful when making comparisons with competitors or making claims about the superiority of a product or service. They should ensure that any statements made are truthful, substantiated, and not misleading. Endorsement and testimonials. If influencers provide endorsements or testimonials for a product or service, they should clearly disclose any material connections with the brand and ensure that their statements reflect their honest opinions and experiences. Contractual agreements. Both influencers and brands should have clear contractual agreements that outline the expectations, responsibilities, and compensation related to influencer marketing collaborations. These agreements should address legal and ethical considerations and protect the interests of all parties involved. Disclosure and transparency. Influencers must clearly disclose any material connection or financial arrangement with the brand they are promoting. This includes disclosing paid sponsorships, gifted products, or any other form of compensation received. The disclosure should be prominent, clear, and easily understandable to the audience. Truth in advertising. Influencers must ensure that their promotional content is truthful, accurate, and not misleading. They should not make false claims or exaggerate the benefits of a product or service. Any statements about the product or service should be based on genuine experiences and opinions. Intellectual property rights. Influencers should respect intellectual property rights when creating and sharing content. They must obtain proper permissions and licenses for using copyrighted material, including images, music, or trademarks. It is essential to avoid plagiarism and respect the rights of others. Privacy and data protection. Influencers should handle personal data in compliance with relevant data protection laws, such as the General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR) in the European Union. They must obtain consent when collecting and using personal information, and ensure the secure storage and proper handling of data. Endorsement guidelines. Influencers should familiarize themselves with the guidelines provided by advertising standards bodies, regulatory agencies, and social media platforms. For example, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, in the United States has specific guidelines for influencer marketing that mandate clear disclosure and transparency. Targeting minors. If an influencer's content is likely to attract a significant number of underage viewers, additional care must be taken to comply with laws and regulations regarding advertising to minors. This may include obtaining parental consent or avoiding certain types of content inappropriate for young audiences. Authenticity and integrity. Influencers should prioritize maintaining authenticity and trust with their audience. They should only promote products or services that align with their values and beliefs. Promoting something solely for financial gain without genuine endorsement can damage their credibility. Social and environmental responsibility. Influencers have the power to shape public opinion and influence consumer behavior. They should consider the social and environmental impact of the products or brands they endorse. Promoting sustainable and socially responsible choices can have a positive impact on society. Compliance with platform policies. Influencers should adhere to the terms and policies set by social media platforms. Violating platform guidelines may lead to content removal, account suspension, or other penalties. They should also be aware of changes to platform policies and adjust their practices accordingly. It is crucial for influencers and brands to consult legal professionals or experts in influencer marketing to ensure compliance with local laws, regulations, and industry best practices. Overall, it's important for brands and influencers to be mindful of these legal and ethical considerations when engaging in influencer marketing to ensure a successful and Thank you for watching the video and subscribe the channel.